All right. Welcome to Fastbreak Breakfast NBA Podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. On today's episode, I have Kyle Mann of The Ringer. We talk about a lot of stuff. We were supposed to talk about our picks to make all-rookie first team and the Buddy Hield trade demand. We barely got to those topics because we started to go on and on about lots of other things, including NBA Con, winning time, and some smoothie stuff. So, before we get to Kyle, just a reminder that today's episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog Fantasy, you can do NBA best ball drafts or hop in on the NFL season and play all sorts of fantasy games for money. Also, during the NFL season, they are giving all new users who use promo code FBBF a free mystery pick. That's in addition to them matching your opening deposit up to $100. That's when you sign up again using the link in this episode's description or using that promo code FBBF. By the way, spoiler, this week's mystery pick is Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones gets 1 yard of offense, you win. So, it's a great time to try out Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code FBBF, as in Fast Break Breakfast, and take advantage of those offers. All right, now let's talk with Kyle Mann. Joined right now by Kyle Mann, who I call Kyle for short. Kyle, how's it going, man?
Because you're just an intimate friend, and you can.
That's right. You don't let everyone call you just Kyle.
Anybody else, if you don't say that, Jay, I will throw a fit. I will make a scene. I will,
It's in your writer. I have to put that in the podcast title. Like, I have to leave the J in. And I'm like, I only have 100 characters for the title on YouTube. Like, well, one of them's J.
We know that's a given, in every equation, there's the given. You got to have it there. I backhanded my son the other day because he didn't call me J Dad. Didn't do that at all.
Oh, we love child abuse humor right up top.
Yes.
Staple of the Fast Break Breakfast brand is Kyle Mann, J Dad. Yeah. You could be, if you ever coach anything, is it Coach Kyle, or do you make him say Coach Kyle Mann?
Ooh, good question. I haven't thought about that. I don't know if the J is just kind of, it's, I would assume it'd have to be Coach Kyle, which, speaking of my son, I made his initials JKM as well. My wife and I, well, we agreed to that. My wife and I.
Oh, yeah.
And,
you didn't backhand her, did you?
Not this time. She backhanded me back. She's a strong spirited woman. So yes. I welcome that. But yes. No, his middle name is Kendrick, actually. So I don't know if he'll end up being Jay Kendrick. I had some people ask me that.
The J in both of your names stands for jump shot.
You would think so. If you saw me, you would think so.
I've heard.
No, he's Julian, and I'm James. That's my first name. People always seem shocked by that. A lot of name talk at the top of this. I didn't intend for that.
I'm trying to water down the spousal and child abuse talk. I'm just trying to
dilute it, just
dilute it a little bit.
Stir it up so it's not so concentrated. My eye is drifting around your background there. I mean, I think there's a thing that happens among guys vaguely our age where we just sort of in this like Freudian way create this, or in like a weird Ed Gein kind of a way, if you want to look at it. Like, we create these little childhood cocoons that we just want to crawl into. Like, I can see your NES action set there.
Yeah. So you're right. The NES action set over this is for our YouTube viewers, not for our audio listeners.
Just imagine it if you're over audio. Get over it.
The NES set you can see over my right shoulder, actually a Lego set.
Oh.
The over my left shoulder, that's a real one. I'm now leaning back and forth to
I see.
To describe. I agree with you, Kyle. I found that I think the companies know this, like the marketers know this. They have just said, you know what we can do? Everyone who turns 40, what if we just show them childhood toys and they'll probably buy them? And that's absolutely what I've been doing. I wasn't even obsessed with Lego as a kid, but we had them. I liked them.
Yeah.
But now as an adult, like in the last 4 years, I'm like, oh, this is my new hobby. And
are you way into the Lego thing? Like, are you going to like the store and stuff?
Yeah. No, I'm way. No, this is great. Actually, so this is a little bit of a tie-in as we sort of get to basketball. And of course, we still have to do your breakfast. We got a lot to do here.
Oh,
But
I love to talk breakfast. Yeah.
yeah, I went to a Lego convention that was about 30 minutes from Nashville in Lebanon, if you will, Lebanon, Tennessee. And
we call it Lebanon too here, so
yeah,
don't feel embarrassed. Don't
right.
worry.
Kentucky, Tennessee, hand in hand.
Yeah.
And
a lot of
meme. Lebanon. And it was great. It was tremendous. It was a lot of fun. And my thoughts going there, I think the tickets, I took my son, the tickets were $11. And
that's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
And my thoughts actually turned to something I've seen you post about NBA Con, which was a convention, and tickets were $70.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, LegoCon was way cooler. Okay. Dominique Wilkins was not at LegoCon, and maybe I think he was at NBA Con. But my takeaway was a convention. Yeah, there should be like a tier where you walk in. I'm thinking $10 to $20. I've been to Dragon Con in Atlanta. Like, I like a convention. I like a nerdy convention thing. And this is in my wheelhouse. I'm an NBA obsessive.
Sure.
And yes. I went and I was like, all right, I'm glad I didn't pay the $70 to get into NBA Con. I would have been furious. And then I couldn't imagine bringing like a family or one child and being like, this costs $200 to get 3 people in here. And then while you're in there, it's just really expensive collectible things that aren't even that appealing to me. And I'm an NBA fan.
Yeah, this needs to be bitched about. That's been my stance on this. It needs to be bitched about more. I didn't hear enough bitching this summer, honestly, Keith. Like I didn't
know since they let us in as media. Are we supposed to give our honest and true? Like, hey, this stinks. Like I mean, I made fun of it because I made a big deal about the snow cones at NBA Con. First of all, if you pay $70, you should get a free snow cone. But the snow cones cost $13. I was like, a $13 snow cone when you get inside? Like, what?
We're in Vegas. Was there Patron in it? I mean, good
nothing.
Lord. Oh,
virgin snow cone. Yeah.
Oh, for God's sakes. Surely Temple snow cone ain't going to cut it. No, I think, if it's alienating like you and I feel like there's a lot of meat on this bone. I don't understand how they could not see this. And I think we're doing them a favor. I don't think it should be a jarring thing for them to hear the truth on this. Like there's the whole side of the NBA, and I understand that there are facets and things that like they can't necessarily do. Like there are like licensing things that they're going to run into that like a convention is sort of a neutral third party that they're not going to like. Rarely does the entity run a convention that they control sort of the merchandise and licensing. I understand that, but there are things that they could do to sort of loosen up when it's all like heavily manufactured, like regimented, like, okay, these players are going to talk and like, well, we go into it automatically knowing they're not going to say anything interesting. We know that it's all going to be like, it might as well be like a politician, like sticking to a script. Like we know it's going to be heavily curated. And the other thing too is like, I understand tapping into the influencer thing because they have a literally vested interest in growing the sport and growing the dollars and figuring out where the dollars are and squeezing them. But the influencer thing, I don't totally understand because it doesn't, half the time, more than half of the audience don't know who the person is. You know what I mean? And then I guess I don't understand targeting. There's a balance between targeting the up and coming fan and who probably doesn't have any money, to be quite frank with you, like, and then also involving the fans who do have some dollars to spend. And I feel like most NBA fans, what percentage of NBA fans do you think would be alienated by what you experienced in Vegas? I'd say it's over 75%.
That's what I was trying to figure out. And the people I went with, we were having this similar conversation. Like, I feel like we're the hardest of hardcore fans. And maybe we're not we're not like a normal cross section of who's like subscribing to ESPN or TNT and watching all the games, but like, I'm an adult who can afford, every year or two to spend $200 on a Lego set. And you think some of that money I could throw at the NBA convention thing. And how you mentioned the influencer thing, like there was a lot of merchandise there that was like, oh, you made some custom NBA shorts that cost $180. And it's like, what is it? And it felt like, oh, this is for someone who's an influencer to post online, but who can actually afford to do this? And so I don't know. Like I'm with you where I'm like, I don't feel like the people who are posting on social media, I don't feel like they have the money to actually buy these things. Like what percentage of the influencers even have money where they can like, I don't know.
It's weird. I think that they should reconfigure it where your ticket for Summer League, because you and I were talking about it. NBA Summer League is NBA Con.
It literally is NBA Con. Yeah.
You have everyone there. The experience of seeing everyone on the concourse is sort of a facsimile for being on the convention floor. I've never been to an actual convention, but I've experienced it, secondhand through video and whatever. There's so much of it out there. But like if you go to NBA Summer League, it's a thrill to see a gray-haired Larry Johnson walking around on the concourse. It's a thrill to see Zach Lowe or whoever it is. It goes beyond the players. It's I saw Jeff Van Gundy.
I saw Shams Charania eating a blizzard, and like that's what you pay for. It's awesome.
Exactly. And I think that your ticket should have sort of a tiered, layered thing to it where it's like, okay, you pay a little more and you get access to this convention floor. You go in. My idea was like, have sneakers, have vintage stuff, have the big thing though for me was like, have a sort of Hall H experience like you would have at Comic-Con where we get together old teams and they talk, or maybe it has like a panel discussion and it's facilitated by, maybe it's an old Grizzlies team facilitated by like you or Chris Vernon or whoever it is, or
just imagine the tickets we would sell.
Oh yeah, just for you guys alone.
To an early 2000 Grizzlies reunion. Well, 6 or 7 people.
You start getting some big names in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think classic teams, classic discussions. Don't be so precious about it. Like we all know, like I don't know. I just think there's a lot to get out of that idea. A lot more juice to squeeze. So I hope they do it because it's just a big turnoff. It really feels elitist a little bit in a way that like it's not right. For me.
Well, it's gatekeeping to not even a gatekeeping of like, hey, you're not cool enough to join here. No, literally, it costs way too much for anyone to go.
It's even that section of the concourse, I was turned off by it. I was just like, what is this? Like, I was like, what? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It just, it rubbed me
I understand. Like you go to your Comic-Con, you go to your whatever it is. It's like you pay $15-$20 to get in. Then if you want to pay for the extra experience, you have that. Like, I'm not saying make everything free. Like, I understand it's an economy, it's capitalism, but like, I'm like my thought was the vendors paid to be here, and then it also costs $70, and then all this stuff also costs this. Like, I couldn't. It blew my mind. Going back to the one thing I could have done is though I could have bought something and then put it on the shelf behind me, and then that's a business expense. So that's basically what I'm doing with my podcast video display. Anything I put back there, I believe that's legal to write off. I don't know if you can back me up on that.
I think that's 100%. I'm not gonna act like I haven't expensed things. I not to my company. I mean, to the government. I've been. I guess I shouldn't say that. Maybe I'm gonna get audited at some point. But
I mean, you are legally expensing things that you are using for your business. Yeah, so nothing.
Sure. In the terms of that may not be, maybe I'll play a little loose with that, but that's for them to
fast and loose. That's what we like about Jay Kyle. We got to talk. Well, that was sort of about basketball. Let's do your breakfast. And then the main thing here was to talk about maybe who's going to make first team all rookie. Although if we don't get to it, who cares? Save that topic for next week. Who cares?
It's September. Who cares?
It's September. Yeah. Well, what was your breakfast, Kyle?
My breakfast today was a smoothie because I'm a soft, red-faced, chubby boy that needs to lose some weight. So I've been drinking smoothies. I've been trying to slim down a little bit. My favorite breakfast right now is a place called Grail House in Louisville. I go there so much that one of the servers actually brought me out. I order a la carte there. I go I've said this on your show before. I'm kind of a classic orderer. Hit me with your classic breakfast. Yeah. Your eggs, your sausage, your biscuit. Maybe some potatoes if I'm feeling fit and I can sustain it. But one time they brought me that out, all those a la carte things on a plate, and the girl was like, she goes, "I knew it was you when I saw the order," and I was like, "That's either." I was like, I don't know how to take that. They even offered they even offered to name that order after me, so I was like, that's kind of cool.
That's an honor.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I vary. I think I've come on in this sort of arc of coming on your show. I've been like really hearty omelet. I'm not doing that so much right now.
Yeah.
I don't know, Keith. We can't keep eating like scoundrels our whole lives. You know,
Really, we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I had
gotta
a
behave.
smoothie too, although I don't think my smoothie was on the health food side. I took one of those what are those fruit popsicles? So I was like, this is kind of healthy.
You
But I
put a-
broke up. It was what was
Okay.
those Simply Pod, the ones that Caitlin Cooper likes. I can't remember anymore. But it
Sure,
was
she
like,
needs to deal with them by this point. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. But so I took out the stick and then I threw it in there, some Greek yogurt, some actual blackberries, some real strawberries. And then I ate it, and I was like, that just was like a milkshake. And I think that had a lot of calories. I don't
Yeah,
think
you got to watch it with the fruit, man. Fruit is one of the more beguiling forces in nature when it comes to health. Because the fruit in a smoothie is a very delicate balance. You go too hard with it, you're like,
go too hard.
you know, it's like
Cleans
being
you out too.
electrocuted with sugar.
It
does do that. That's
so
also.
I was just, before we get to the rookie thing, I was just thinking. So we were talking about how like NBA Con should have appealed to us, and we were kind of turned off by it. There is like sort of a general NBA news story about a thing I think that should have appealed to us, but apparently did not appeal to either one of us, and that's Winning Time. So Winning Time, I guess, like maybe it's just we're sad because it's September, but Winning Time gets canceled after 2 seasons on HBO. I didn't watch the second season because I really disliked the first season. And you said also, we were texting, you said it wasn't for you either. So you checked out as well. So any thoughts on the demise of Winning Time?
Well, I mean, I'll start from present day and work backwards. I mean, when I saw it got canceled, I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't really affected by it because working backwards, like when I was the actual raw kind of history itself is interesting enough for me, because like when I watch those games, and there have been a lot of great documentaries, there have been a lot of great things about that, and the characters themselves almost, they don't really need to be fictionalized for me personally. I know this was a labor of love for Adam McKay and that team and stuff, and I think we even know some people who have family members who have worked on that show. I didn't really get enraptured by the packaging of it. Like it just didn't seem to me like something that needed to be fictionalized in general. I will say I watched the first season. I mean, there were some moments that were pretty entertaining whenever they were talking about, I'm blanking on the dude's name who was in the bicycle wreck, who came over.
Oh,
Anyway, but when that episode was pretty interesting. I thought that was pretty cool whenever they went to like Lakers training camp and everything, but I didn't get turned off so much by the Jerry West depiction. I thought that was just kind of ridiculous and funny, but I'm sensitive to people picking on rural America in a way that maybe might even be a little strong. Where like I said this on a Ringer pod. I think Waz even brought this up at one point. I really didn't care for how far they took it with Larry Bird's family. I was like, all right, if we're just scoring easy points off of something that we assume somebody said about the Lakers or whatever it was, I really got turned off by that.
Yeah.
By the way they depicted his family. They don't know that they said that. And I was just like,
well,
even if they did, I was just like, I don't need this. And I did not pick it back up when it started. So I wasn't really on with Winning Time, honestly.
Yeah, I think you nailed something I didn't like. It was so broad. Like everything was so like on the nose, and like even like, I don't know, nothing was subtle. It was all like, hey, do you get this? It's like, I get it. Just like, you don't have to hammer everything like just over and over and over. And just like the way they treated everything, it was these massive broad stereotypes for people. I thought tonally it was really weird, where I was like,
I'm sensitive to tone like that too.
Yeah. Where I'm like, all right, you're now like really, I don't know, like a lurid sex comedy. And then it's like, now we're like it was Jack McKinney is the guy who had the bicycle wreck.
There we go.
And again, that was like straight horror scene where like, I didn't know the story and it was interesting, but when he gets on that bike, you're like, oh, like something's about to happen, something's about to happen. And then they made it very gruesome, which like, that's fine. But it's like, it was all the tonal shifts. And then just the presentation where like we've talked about this on the Fastbreak Breakfast before, the cut between like VHS presentation, VHS, and then like 8mm, and then like digital video. It's like, guys, I know this is set in 1980. Like you don't
Yeah.
like it's. I'm not
They went
I'm
hard
not
with
gonna
that
forget,
stuff.
man. Like I'm not gonna forget. And that like that it was too much. Like I feel like I would have probably maybe gotten around to watching it, but definitely when season 2 came back and there's no NBA on, I was still like, nah, I'm just gonna watch old Larry Sanders Show. Reruns.
Oh yeah, high five there. Yeah, I mean, there every night, like I have like an hour and a half before bed. That's my time to kind of
Yeah.
watch what I want, and I
Yeah.
definitely on the Max app was like scrolling. That was the saddest thing ever. I get an hour and a half a day. I was scrolling.
That's what I do. Like we're very similar in a lot of ways, but also like it's basically like my wife goes to bed usually before me, and there's a solid hour and a half where I'm trying to punch out Ice Station Zebra, and
Yes.
and that's yeah. So I didn't feel that was sad at all.
Yeah, I was just I scrolled over it many times and I had the same kind of reaction where I was like, I figure I will watch this at some point, but I just kind of wasn't motivated to be like, oh boy, so it sucks. I mean, I'm sad that people liked it so much, and that for them, I'm sad that they, and it does kind of trouble me a little bit what's going on with Max. It does seem like they're sort of mishandling the situation pretty badly. I know that's you can go listen to a lot of shows where people really know what they're talking about. You don't have to listen to me talk about that, but yeah, I just didn't really. I'm not torn up over it. So anyway, yeah.
Also, speaking of Max, this is applicable to our listeners. They're offering NBA games this year. They have a new Bleacher Report channel, and they're going to show NBA games. And if you already have a Max subscription, I don't get any kickback for this. They're going to show some NBA games through, I believe, March. So they will cut you off before the playoffs. But it's just interesting. Again, I don't know if that's Max's mishandling. I mean, I hate the new Max the new Max app. I hate how they like. I've been subscribing to HBO for a long time, and it's like, why are you trying to get me to watch? I don't know what it is. Like just random reality TV. Why is that the first thing that pops up? You know what I want? I click on Deadwood. I click on the Sopranos. I'm a very stereotypical mid-40s white guy. Like, you know what? Like, stop trying to show me all this other stuff I don't want at all. But anyways, best of luck to HBO and or Max and whatever they
maybe art's not as profitable as we thought. I thought HBO was a safe place where we all agreed on this art, and we were like, okay, this is pop art that's profitable. It's good. We don't need to mess with this.
Yeah,
they've been messing with it, and it's troubling. I hope that we can hopefully somebody swoops in and saves the day and restores it to its former glory, because it's not like they were struggling. I mean, they were kind of pumping out the hits constantly. So.
Why can't the NBA swoop in and save Max? Why can't the NBA swoop in and save winning time? Why can't the Lakers just, what does that cost? Like, what's a season of winning time? Like,
I think the only Lakers person who was happy with Max was Jeannie Buss, right?
Well, yeah, she was treated as like
the quiet all shucks girl is actually
she was the Peggy Olson, also savant. Like, she's not just the daughter. This is not nepotism. She's actually the only one brilliant enough to run the Lakers.
I'm Bob Dole style pointing the pin here a lot. I was thinking of one of the things that really bothered me was I hate winking at the camera. That's one of the things that like really, really makes me cringe in any show, in any movie, where you assume that the audience is so dumb. Like there was I think it was one of their first games. Maybe it was against the Clippers where they had to hit some kind of. I think it was that famous game where Magic overreacted to game one and jumped on Kareem or whatever it was. And they were like, "Oh, there's a young Kobe Bryant in the crowd," and like I don't need that. I just don't need that. Like I can't stand. But my tonal kind of barometer is pretty sensitive to the point where I piss people off sometimes, Keith, because I hated Jojo Rabbit. I hated that movie. I was just thinking about that. I don't know, stuff like that. I'm sensitive to. Maybe off the mark at times, but you can only be yourself,
Yeah. Well, let's spend, let's say, a solid 7 minutes to wrap this up on some.
If it's easy, let it be easy, baby. That's my thing.
No, it's great. It's great. You for the Ringer, you have your you do a lot of draft coverage of, and I listened to you let me know that you thought Paolo Banchero was better than Jabari Smith Jr. Before that draft, and kudos to you there. Although Jabari summer league breakout, who knows?
They both can be good. That's this ain't Highlander.
Good.
It's not like there
can be only
one. We can have multiple. But anyway, yeah.
But anyways, I did want to talk about this year's rookie class or specifically the players eligible for Rookie of the Year, because I think we're gonna have a really great Rookie of the Year race between Vegas thinks the betting favorite is Victor Wembanyama, but I like Chet Holmgren. I think that's a very solid bet. I'm curious, like how much will voters eventually weigh in? Like we think the Thunder are going to be good. And if the Spurs are tanking, like maybe advantage Chet. So you can get Chet at plus money for that. But I think we all assume beyond that, if we're trying to pick an all rookie first team, I think we're writing it in ink. Everybody making these predictions would say Victor and Chet. Yeah. And then also, are we also putting it down in marker and or ink with Scoot?
I think it might. The thing that you have to do when you're looking at Rookie of the Year, when you're looking at all rookie teams, is space for production. Because if you look at like the all rookie teams, even just last year, I mean, it was Paolo, Walker, Jalen Williams, Benedict Mathurin, and Keegan Murray. Those guys all there was space for those guys to produce. Whether or not the ball's in your hand. I mean, Keegan produced without, and we predicted this going into the season that he would have the table set for him a lot, and he was an efficient scorer in that way. When I look at this year's group, I mean, I think it's going to be, you were talking about the Spurs tanking. I think it's going to be hard for them to tank just because they have such a floor. Whenever you have a floor raiser on your team, whether that's on offense or defense, like LeBron came in and immediately the Cavs won. I forget, it was some ridiculous plus amount of games. Luka is that kind of a player, just guys that automatically are going to up the overall efficiency of your team. I think Wemby defensively is going to do that immediately. I think that, Chet's kind of similar. I think you're right on where like Chet is offensively maybe more ready to go in the ways that he's going to get his buckets. But OKC, it's another reason why I thought Hassan Wallace is probably not going to have a chance to get it, just because the touches are spoken for, unless he just goes crazy with his catch and shoot numbers or his spot up numbers. I feel like it's possible. The other big thing here among like the major sort of runners or candidates for this award is Scoot. It's going to hinge on whether or not Dame leaves Portland in the short term, because if he's there, if you think about Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, and Dame, it'll be a little harder for Scoot to post the sort of bloated numbers that he would otherwise. So that'll hurt his chances. If Dame leaves, I would probably put my money on Scoot, just because I think he's probably going to get 18 points a game, probably 5 or 6 assists a game, maybe a steal. Otherwise, I think it's probably going to be between Chet and Wembanyama, and I don't think that that's a radical, wild thing to predict. If you made me predict today, I'm going to pick Wemby. I know that's boring. I know that that's not super exciting, but I do think if Dame gets out of there, I think there's a good chance that Scoot is going to put up some counting stats.
Yeah. I've considered the whole Wemby. He's going to raise that floor. And if it, like if he is as talented as everyone assumes he's going to be, he has that defensive impact you mentioned. Like, yeah, like they might not tank, but also I guess my curiosity with the Spurs is, are they going to be able to get past anyone in the top 11 or 12 in the West? Cause like there's like 11 or 12 teams. I guess I think Utah might be the 12th, where there's 11 teams for sure who are expecting playoffs. And so that's going to be awkward. And if the Spurs aren't there, will they pull the plug on that? Beyond those top 3. So let's just say Scoot, Victor, Chet probably are going to make are favorites for making first team all NBA. The rest of it though feels pretty wide open. Who would you lean to fill out in your preseason prediction of an all NBA rookie first team?
I feel like another thing too that we don't have to get on this, but like the whole resting thing. I mean, how many games is Wemby going to play could come in to be a real factor too. But I mean, I've got Wemby. I overall, Chet would probably be my second for Rookie of the Year runnings. Just my instinct. I feel like, and then Scoot. So we get Chet, Wemby, Scoot.
Yeah.
It depends on whether some of these teams could make moves in the short term. Like, is Terry Rozier going to be on the team? Is, Gordon Hayward has a year at like 34 million or something. Could some team out there make that work for a year? Would that open up more space for Brandon Miller to score? I'm actually going to say Amen. And then a sort of a dark horse one for me would be Keontae George with the
Ooh,
Jazz.
yeah.
The Jazz, we saw that, Keontae is a shot maker. The Jazz in the short term have some pieces I think that could be attractive. Like Jordan Clarkson's contract is very tradable at like 23 million. I forget it, like 3 years or something like that. I could see some team out there maybe investing in him in the short term just to get an extra like offensive punch if you're a playoff team, because it's a pretty good contract, especially considering how the deals are going to go up here in the next couple of years. And then I guess Amen is a guy that I think is going to produce. Whether another thing too is like whether or not Cam Whitmore is sort of a dark horse if he could come in and get more minutes.
So
yeah,
Kyle, you say, not to interrupt, sorry, but you say Cam Whitmore dark horse. Cam Whitmore in a lot of places has better odds to win Rookie of the Year than Amen Thompson.
Is that the truth? Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
The Rockets are an interesting team just because they have so many of those athletic guys at that 3 spot. You assume for the money that they paid him that we were going to see Fred VanVleet, and we're probably going to see Dylan Brooks in the starting lineup. And then you got to think Jalen Green isn't coming off the bench. So I assume it's going to be Steady Freddie, Jalen Green, Brooks. And then, Jabari's probably going to, unless they go small and they like run like Cam Whitmore and Amen at the 4, but you assume Şengün's going to have to play. There's just sort of a log jam. They have a lot of guys. So I think it's going to be hard for Whitmore. Might even be hard for Amen to sort of get any real accolades like that just because of production.
Yeah, I think you're right that they're going to kind of work against each other in all those lineup spots. Like, is there going to be enough opportunities for both Amen and Cam to get in this? I was thinking about like Amen, the game he played at Summer League, and then his brother Asar. Like Asar blew me away. Like I don't ever watch the prospects till they played in Summer League, and I hope the Pistons just kind of like let him play. Like he struck me as, I haven't heard this comp yet, so I'm gonna claim it. He struck me as like Sean Marion who could dribble, and like and for me, I'm like, that's the perfect player. And so, like, I know, like, whatever shot questions, I was blown away by Asar Thompson, and I'm like, just please let him cook Detroit. If they do, I feel like he could definitely get in this. I think he might be, if I'm picking my first team, I'm just going based on the good vibes he gave me in Las Vegas. That like that's who I'd like to see that's who I'll pick to make the first team.
I could easily see what I said about Amen being true actually for his brother with Asar.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on. If you extended it to sort of like a cluster of 8 guys, I think Asar is in there. A lot of the reason too being that like he's gonna have a more steady diet playing next to Cade. I think that he's gonna be just kind of roaming, and like his athleticism is going to allow him to like convert plays. It's going to be a good situation for him, honestly. So yeah, I absolutely could see that happening with the Pistons.
And I'm gonna mark down your official pick. Did your official pick? Like I like your Keontae George one because I do think there's that opportunity there. Like there's the Jazz. Even if Clarkson sticks around, even if Sexton sticks around, like he's got to beat out Taylor Horton Tucker. And I think they will probably let Keontae have first crack at that. So I do think there's a good opportunity there. And now I'm looking at like longer shots, like who might go, like if like a Jarris Walker gets the opportunity, maybe Grady Dick will be allowed to play on the Raptors. Here's a funny one. This guy's plus 8,000 on one illegal casino site for Rookie of the Year. Gregory Jackson. And I read that and I said, I have no idea who Gregory Jackson is. And so I Googled him, and Gregory Jackson's on the Grizzlies. I'm like, it's Gigi. I only know Gigi Jack. I've never heard him called. I didn't know what the J stood for. I didn't know that Gigi stood for Gregory. And so that was that's on me. I apologize. But is there a longer shot out there that you might think has maybe the best opportunity to make an all NBA or all rookie first team?
Which of these guys are going to play and produce is the question. Because if you go
that's my question for you right now.
Yeah, if you go down through here, like Jordan Hawkins, I could see him having sort of a functional minimal role. Is Kobe Buffkin going to play a whole lot? He's probably going to be later in the rotation. Hood Schifino, probably the same kind of deal. He could get on the floor. Jaime Jaquez is a guy that I just think he's a box scorer. He produces whether or not it's like a bunch of points, but he's just a guy who like contributes to winning. I don't know that that's going to attract the eye of voters. Bajemski probably the same kind of thing, hard to get on the floor. I mean, I could see just on a defensive side, as a play finisher too. Olivier Maxence Prosper for Dallas is a guy. He fits what Dallas needs. If he comes in and shows that he can defend, at this level immediately and stay on the floor, he could be valuable. But again, that's not super. I expect Nick Smith to kind of spend some time in the G League. A funny thing that you brought up in your outline was just talking about the Buddy Hield trade. I've joked with Matt Dollinger, or one of our editors, who's an Indiana guy. I was like, Ben Shepherd is a guy who maybe he came in Indiana, saw like, okay, well, we got this movement shooter guy who doesn't do a ton else, and Buddy Hield, who's like over 30 years old, who's very expensive and wants more money. And then we've got this guy coming out of Belmont in Ben Shepherd, who can shoot the shit out of the ball. Maybe we can just go ahead and go on the cheap here with this guy who's younger, who can really shoot it. He's another guy who could be a dark horse that could contribute to Indiana in the short term.
That's an extreme dark horse. The idea of Ben Shepherd replicating the Buddy Hield. I did want to talk about Buddy Hield, but
Buddy Hield's way older. You got to kind of look.
I know, but still, like Buddy Hield is a proven man's made 40% of his threes on like 8 attempts per game for the last 5 years.
What do you want to pay for that? What do you want? That's the question,
That'll be on part 2 coming out next week with Kyle. Well, let's write down your let's get official picks. You got Scoot, you got Wemby, you got Chet. What are your 2 more official ones?
I'll say Keontae, and I liked the I sort of argued myself into this stance when we started talking about Houston's minutes sort of situation. I like the Asar thing. You inspired me. I'll just shamelessly go ahead and switch. I'm in for Asar. I know I'm doing the Twins thing there. I don't think do we just differ on like one spot? Is that what was your?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Asar, and for my 5th, I might go with like Micic, the Vasily Micic for the Thunder. Give them 2 first team rookies.
Yeah, that name's not in front of my face, but that's a really good pick. And another one is for Sacramento. I'm blanking on the
the big guy.
I think that's another potential pick and pop guy who could put up points. But I think Micic is going to play for OKC. Granted, they have 100 guys, so he might not play. But
he's going to take your Kentucky boys minutes. Kassan, right?
I doubt it. It because. I think Kayson's thing is that like if he's able to, talking about like creating sort of expendable assets, if Kayson comes in and hits threes and defends at a high level, that might cause them to kind of have a conversation about Lou Dort. You could see there's a lot of ways you could go with this, Keith. But
I would have a conversation about Lou Dort. He's also a little bit expensive.
Yeah,
I could see Kayson replacing Dort more than I can see Ben Shepherd replacing Buddy Hield. But
it's a wild one, but you could see it. He can shoot, man. He's 6'6". He can shoot the ball. He's younger.
He's the only prospect taken in the draft who I saw play college basketball because I went to one Belmont game. And I was like, oh, that guy's pretty good. But I didn't even know he was a draft prospect. He had a really good game. The game I was there. So
oh yeah. He popped to your naked eye. Yeah.
He did. They were playing. Who were they playing? North Texas, maybe? That doesn't seem right.
The Mean Green from North Texas.
I don't think that's right.
School. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Kyle, thanks for coming on. A pleasure talking with you as always. And I'll look forward to you coming on soon. Right?
Yeah, probably a year from now, right? That's our pattern.
We'll do it next summer, and we'll pick up where we left off talking about the Buddy Hield trade.
Sounds good.
I will remember